Hi, everybody. Well,
oh, wait. Whoa. Wait, no.
Still got the name on the monitor. Oh, there we go. Hi, everybody. Little technical issues. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connarton, and of course, to my right, appropriately, is the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
The very far right.
Yeah, I'd say overall, yes.
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 Like extreme right. Like, for instance, if there was, like, Rush Limbaugh, and there's any room to his right,
yeah,
I'm, like, right there, kind of teetering.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an independent. I'm very centrist, but I think next to you, I look like a Marxist.
No, you look like a Marxist because of the hair.
Really? You
Yeah,
think so?
exactly.
The shaggy look is in right now, Gary.
That's Marxism. It begins that way, and then
Does
it
it?
kind of takes over.
All right. So there is no hope.
No.
Not for me.
No. We actually have good guests this week.
Oh, thank God, because most of the time,
Don't set the bar too high.
No, well, Pam Tucker's going to watch this today and go, what?
Yeah, no, she was great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Gary is kidding, for those who don't get Gary's humor.
Yeah, Gary's kind of messed up. We have Christina Luppi. All I knew that you did was you were the secretary of the Goffstown F+G Game Club.
That's
and I
true.
knew you were an avid hunter and actually knew what you were talking about when it came to hunting.
Thanks.
So that's why I thought it would be good to have you on the show, because I know nothing. I mean, I go out in the woods in the fall, sometimes every fall. That can't be sometimes.
Sometimes every fall, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So sometimes every fall, and I take naps with my guns. I don't really actually pursue anything.
Do you spoon them?
Huh?
Do you spoon them, or is that dangerous when you take naps with them? Do you spoon?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or I guess not then.
Okay, good.
Or you just don't want to admit
I don't
it,
want
and that's
to. I don't
fine,
want
too.
to admit that I know you.
Okay.
So anyway, so I really know nothing. I mean, I tried. I know that the best way to hunt is to go on tree stands, and I just go up there and pass out, and that's not real healthy. You know, I don't want to be one of those guys that's like caught upside down, his foot caught in the thing, and.
Well, I don't know if I'd call that the best way to hunt, but it's one way to hunt. I guess it depends what you're hunting.
Yes, I guess. I was talking about deer specifically. And also we have, obviously, Glenn Normando is the director of Fish and Game, but, I forgot to go back. What else do you do, Christina, besides Secretary of Fish and Game? Well, you would think that would be enough for most people.
Yeah, no, I do a lot of different things. I am the secretary of Goffstown F+G Game. I am also the co-host of New Hampshire's Wild Side with Mark Beauchene. I also
What is that?
teach-
Is that a television show? Or
Yep,
what?
it's a
Okay.
television show.
Very good.
It's on WBIN Network.
Okay, excellent.
I also teach hunter education for the state of New Hampshire. I'm a certified hunter ed instructor. I'm also a certified bow hunter ed instructor. I also teach a Women on Target class, which is sponsored by the NRA. So do a few of those every year. That's fun.
What is that?
Women on Target?
Yeah.
It's actually specifically a firearms introduction course for women. So women who aren't really interested in getting in a room with a bunch of different men, just feel uncomfortable in the situation, that kind of thing. It's a class geared specifically towards them. So it's a class for women, filled with other women. We make it really comfortable, we make it really fun, and it's just a very basic introductory course.
They're training them to protect themselves from you.
Yes.
So they get like Uzis and stuff?
No, we
no.
start with 22s in our course. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Then you work your way up to anti-hopper rounds.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh.
That's a good thing.
Those are our advanced classes.
Those are the advanced classes, yeah. So that's a lot of stuff you do.
Yeah, I spread myself pretty thin once in a while, but I really, really enjoy it. It's really important to me to kind of spread my passion and get the word out there and that kind of thing. So I really like to do it.
And you've gone elk hunting.
I've not gone elk hunting, but I have gone antelope hunting.
Well, my neighbor said you got an elk.
I got an antelope.
An antelope.
But yeah,
Your neighbor needs to learn their animals.
I know.
Yeah.
Who's your neighbor?
Forrest and Ginger.
Oh,
I saw him at
gotcha,
Dunkin'
yeah.
Donuts this morning. We were talking about you behind your back.
Yep, that makes sense. But yeah, it was an antelope hunt out in Montana.
How was that?
It was fantastic. It was
beautiful
absolutely gorgeous.
out there, huh?
Oh, it's definitely gorgeous. It's God's country out there. It's untouched. It's beautiful. It's wild, and it's just open, and you feel just energized out there. I absolutely love it.
Clear air too.
Oh, big time.
Every now and again that you get that around here. I was out on my motorcycle. I think it was yesterday. Just the air or maybe it was even, I forget what day it was. We had really clear, dry air. It smells like that, just real clear, clean. Glenn, the director of Fish and Game, you had a meeting today. You showed up here against your better judgment.
Third time on the show, I think,
That
right?
is
It is the third time.
You would think
This must be the charm.
No, it's
no,
not.
not necessarily. It hasn't been for anybody else. It's been for you. So what's going on with Fish and Game? Anything new, exciting?
Well, it's just the usual struggle. It was a fairly down week last week. We lost a conservation officer in a motorcycle crash.
Sure.
So
Really?
last week was pretty much of a bummer. But
No, so what I remember reading it, but I don't remember the specifics. What happened?
it was just an off-duty motorcycle crash in Tufton Borough, and he just
because you've been around a while, right?
22 years with the department.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things. Leaves behind a couple of small kids. And
It's too bad.
so, but today was, back to business. We had I was at the governor and council this morning in Plymouth, and which is always a good time. And then commission meeting in Concord this afternoon, and that got done about 4:30. And here we are today to finish a perfect day.
I think there's a certain sarcasm in there, but I'm kind of naive to this.
I think he's very sincere.
Okay, good. I would hate to think otherwise.
I know, right?
Right?
Yes.
Right.
I try to line all my favorites up on a single day, so
Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
Exactly.
If sincerity were a fluid, it would be oozing from his pores.
Yes, I would
Exactly.
think so.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, so on things that are going on with Fish and Game, the big one is every year, I think since I've been up in the legislature, funding for rescue. Any movement on that at all?
well, not specifically that I'm aware of. I mean, basically, we're working on funding for everything. This year, for the first time ever, substantial general fund money was put in the Fish and Game Fund to keep us solvent for the next 2 years. And a commission's been created to look at our funding overall. So hopefully we'll be able to come up with something that can get swallowed by the legislature. There's really no golden bullets. It's the options are pretty well known. It just takes some political will to make one of them happen. The legislature put $1.5 million of general funds in us for the next biennium.
Yeah, but didn't they last biennium or the biennium before that, they take a bunch of money out of Fish and Game too?
Well, they took some money out of the boat access account, but that didn't affect our day-to-day operations, if you
Okay.
will. But the Fish and Game Fund, we projected it's going to be at or slightly below zero at the end of this biennium, and that's with the $1.5 million that was put in. So without any additional funding sources, we'd probably be $2-3 million in the negative the following biennium, or just
What's going on? Expenses going up, or
expenses are going up. Our revenues are actually as good as they've been in a while right now, but they don't begin to keep pace. And even though we needed that money, even with leaving 9 positions unfunded, including 4 conservation officers.
Because your number of conservation officers since I've been up there has actually declined. I
It
believe.
has. It has. And so is our overall number of employees, which is down from a peak in 2006 of 212. I think we're going to be at 180 something, 183 or 2.
Now, is it something like the police departments where the pensions kick the heck out of your budget too, or is it that same
No,
type of
because the
environment?
retirement doesn't matter in a way to us because that's all paid. When an officer retires, it's in the state pension system.
Okay, so it doesn't come out of the Fish and Game budget.
Well, it does when they're, our share comes out when they're in service.
Right,
but,
right.
But whatever happens after that happens after that. But we
Okay.
do pay the retirees' health care benefits. And of course, that continues to rise, as does health care benefits for the employees that are active. So that's certainly, like anything else, a major driver. But, we've really had no significant, other than saltwater license, which is a few $100,000, we haven't had significant revenue increases in a long time. The last license increases was a decade ago. So if you were running a business and I told you that no matter what happened to your operating costs, you had to keep providing the same same services to all your customers, and you wouldn't be allowed to raise your prices, I don't have to tell you where you would be in private business.
Right.
And and then you take out what we don't have any control over. I mean, I don't negotiate. I don't set the health care benefits. I don't set the retirees' benefits. I don't set, contracts, or, there's all sorts of things that we just get told this is the number you will put in your budget. OIT, all of those sorts of things. So we have a suite of expenses that are totally out of our control.
Yeah.
And then we have other expenses like anybody else. I mean, we spend, $300,000+ a year on fish food. We spend $350,000 or $75,000 a year on gas.
Can you get fish food at Market Basket?
Not
Or,
the kind.
Stop and Shop, rather.
If you wanted very small trout,
Yeah. All right.
But,
just spitballing. Just run out.
so I mean,
No, wait. Actually, along those lines,
Yeah.
you could do something with the mafia,
Yeah.
because they're always making fish food.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah. There you go.
Make a deal with the mafia. That's always a good idea.
well, I didn't know Whitey back in the heyday.
You could have
Could have
tons
done
of
something
fish
going
food.
back then.
Oh, there's
so.
other options.
Yeah, there's other options, but
But
Just thinking out of the box here. We're just trying to help Glenn. We're
Yeah.
helpers.
yeah.
Help us help you.
yeah,
Yes, exactly. We do think out of the box on this show. We're not limited by reality.
I'm thinking
Or-
you need
or
to be in the
laws.
boxes.
Or the asylum, whichever.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
kind of like a box, kind of white padded.
Yeah, exactly.
So, does the rescue thing, does that come out of your budget too, though, right? Or part of it? Or is that a separate account?
Well, it has its own dedicated account, but it never gets enough funding to cover the full costs. So it constantly, when that goes to zero, it comes out of the Fish and Game Fund.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that it cost a boatload to save these people that are... Well, some of them are... No?
Well, it certainly cost a boatload, but, I mean...
What? What? There's something you're not saying.
Well, it's just, it's impossible to get it back is what it boils down to. It's like trying to get money from people after their house burned down for the fire department. I mean,
Right.
it is, people keep telling us to bill them and do this and do that, and we try in some cases, but it's
Really? Yeah.
just not worth the efforts.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, first of all, there's a substantial percentage of them that aren't stupidity and ignorance. I mean, people
Get hurt,
the best
whatever.
prepared get hurt.
Sure.
They have heart attacks. They whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have, but someone who's rolling around up on the top of Mount Washington in March in shorts and sneakers is maybe not making the best decisions in other areas of their life also.
So you would file that under stupidity and ignorance, I assume?
And
That
so
type
when
of
you
scenario?
go and end up having to undertake a major search and rescue to go save them,
Yeah.
and then the bill is X thousands of dollars, well, the chances they're going to have that.
Isn't there a point at which maybe Mother Nature's trying to tell you something, like maybe you shouldn't?
Well, Darwin's always trying to help.
Yeah,
Survival
it's
of the
Darwinism,
fittest.
yeah. Yeah.
And,
Sometimes you just got to say, maybe this is one we don't need. Thin the herd,
well, I'll let you make that decision and see where.
I would love to be the guy who makes those decisions. That would be awesome.
Yes, it'd be like you would be playing God. Actually.
No,
Yeah.
I'd love it.
Well, I'm afraid that our reckoning is simply whether or not what we're putting our officers in danger of. But assuming that it's feasible, we go do our best to get them. So.
Yeah.
Also, frankly, we have a significant amount of issues going on these days with Alzheimer's patients that just
Really?
plain old wander off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've had some very expensive searches associated with that.
No kidding. Are you seeing an increase in that? Is that
Yeah, it's a
Really?
bigger percentage we have.
Are most of them from the legislature?
I'm taking the fifth.
you don't want to incriminate yourself for rescuing a state legislator?
I don't want to incriminate
No, he's not.
myself.
Doesn't want to incriminate himself for not rescuing.
I
state
thought
legislator.
he meant for rescuing one.
I need to preserve my my program for future budgetary considerations.
Yes. We understand. Well said.
So what's going on with the hunting season this year? There's nothing. I didn't see any legislation that changed anything.
Nothing
Christina
changes,
was
basically.
talking about. There was some talk about the increasing the tang length or the antler length on.
Oh, it was trying to improve the antler size in bucks in the state. They had sent around a survey a couple of years ago.
Couple of
about
years ago,
improving
yeah.
the antler size.
How do
Well-
you do that?
Well, what you do is you limit what you can shoot at. But generally speaking, it came back that people didn't want, by a substantial majority, did not want us to limit, something like 58 or 60 something percent of the respondents were happy to kill, and to be able to take any legal deer.
Right.
So there's certainly a vocal group that wants us to implement, management for big horns. But we had a very substantial number of people that don't want to be limited, that they can only shoot a buck with some.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority of us aren't trophy hunters. We just
Right.
want to be successful hunters.
Right. Right.
And I mean,
Makes sense.
they all look the same in a white package, and if you're someone like me who grew up in the back in the 70s, early 80s, when there was no the deer kill in the state was bumping down around 3,000 a year. I mean, you thought you'd had a good season if you saw a track.
Yeah.
So it's and people always have that choice too. They don't, if you don't want to shoot a spike, don't.
Yeah.
So we had several. We had a hearing in Concord. We had a hearing in Pittsburgh on that issue. The Pittsburgh hearing was extremely vocal about not implementing.
I think a lot of people up there probably just want to put meat in the freezer.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're a little aggressive up there, are they?
Well, I wouldn't say they were aggressive, but they were vocal about it.
As vocal as the Free Staters were about getting a tank in the center of Concord, or that bad, or
Well,
Where does that stand?
oh they delayed
they punted.
it. They punted.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah, they
punted.
voted to. They didn't make a decision. I guess is what
Okay.
I read in the paper. I
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is Monday. They had the hearing down at the town hall, and they were going to get basically a military type vehicle. They say it wasn't capable of offense.
Yeah.
It was only for protecting officers and stuff. But they also put in the application it was because they had some radical groups in the area, like the Free Staters and I think the Occupy movement, that they
Yes.
felt that they needed some sort of
Protection from yeah.
protection from.
I live in
guess.
Concord, and I'll tell you, just some of these pedestrians, when I'm trying to drive down Main Street, I would
So you wish you had a tank?
Yeah, I'd like to see them crushed with a tank. Like Tiananmen Square, like just crush them.
Yeah, that's actually because how are we can ever have something cool like Tiananmen Square if we don't have tanks?
Right, because that made the news. That was on the
Exactly.
news. Like China was famous after that.
Right.
I want to be famous.
Could be my last show.
You said that last year.
Told you third time wasn't a charm.
You need to drive through Portsmouth in tourist season.
Yeah, oh, I have, yeah.
That's where I live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, wouldn't you love to have a tank?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
it
see?
does make some sense down there.
See? Yeah.
So you also got a program. I don't quite know how this works, but you get a program to sell your one of the best calendars on the planet is New Hampshire Fish and Game calendars.
Really?
They are absolutely gorgeous. I used to, when I was first on Fish and Game, they used to give them to us.
Yeah.
Then some jerk mentioned about, not being so free with money and stuff like that, and then we didn't get them anymore. So we had to actually buy them.
Really?
So we had to take that $100 a year and spend $10. It's $10 for the calendar, right?
Something like that.
Don't they know who you are?
I know, exactly. That's what I told them.
Yeah,
They didn't
yeah.
listen. But they are absolutely beautiful. But you guys actually have a program where you're trying to get groups to sell them and stuff like that, or for the Boy Scouts and gun clubs and.
I'm not sure.
That's a good idea.
Could be. We have, I don't know about the calendars, but we have franchise agreements with, for example, Kittery Trading Post, like they do with the main stuff with our logos and stuff on shirts. And hopefully we'll work something out with the new Bass Pro Shop when that opens up in Hooksett also.
Well, that's good.
So do you get? So the Fish and Game gets some revenue from that. It gets some from the calendars. Are those pretty? Do you sell a lot of the calendars or not? So
We
much?
do, but I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Yeah, because I was just reading that on Jeff Goalie sends out a notice from Fish and Game on the legislative email. So I actually read some of those. But let's see what else. Oh yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. I took my grandson to because one of the things about this sport is trying to get people involved in it, right? Trying to get
You
new
mean hunting?
hunting and fishing.
Yep.
Okay, it's because it's not really translating into the next generation as well as you would like, I'm sure. And so they have the Exeter Gun Club. I think it's called the Exeter Gun Club. Is that the one down? It's in Exeter, but Lee Quant invited.
Yeah.
The Quants invited me down there to bring the grandson fishing because they have their fishing derby, and the Fish and Game department stocks the pond next to it. Okay, about 2 days before. But what happens is all these guys come in right after the stocking truck because they know the derby is like on Saturday and they know it's stocked on Thursday, and they just fish the thing out Friday. I mean, I saw a lot of kids fishing, and everybody's pulling up kivvies. My grandson pulled out. It was really cool because he's only 7, so he didn't know better. But he was pretty excited because he caught I think 6 or 7 kivvies about that big. But is there anything you guys can do about that, or
Well,
because they were told, the game wardens told them, well, they've got their license, so we really can't.
yeah, I mean, if it's a public pond.
Yes, it is.
If it's a public pond, there's not a whole lot we can do about it because, it's public fish. And what the rule is if we're doing a club and it's on a private pond, we will stock for a kids' derby, but after the derby's over, they got to leave it open to the public.
Oh,
So
okay.
that because again, the public owns the greater community, if you will, owns those fish. You know. So that's how we try to do it. You'd hope that people would be at least
Well, they put up
mildly
signs
respectful.
all over the place. We're having a fishing derby Saturday for the kids. Please don't fish until after Saturday. Nope.
That's really sad that they're doing that. I mean, I know personally, our gun club, Goffstown F+G, we co-sponsor an event, Jake's Day, every year with the National Wild Turkey Federation, specifically geared towards youth. Under the age of, I want to say it's 17 and under, I think is where we usually make the cutoff. So 17 and under, it's free for them to attend. And we do a lot of different things that day. We do casting. We have...
What is it?
what's the day, you mean?
No, what's casting?
Practice casting,
yeah.
like fishing,
Okay.
casting a fishing reel. So we can have, we have casting practice, we have a lunch for them, we have the ranges open, so we've got instructors on all of the archery, rifle, and handgun ranges, actually shooting with the little kids. We've got some BBs and 22s and things like that going. It's a lot of fun. We've got youth bows and arrows and things like that, so it's really easy for them to use. So we try to get the next generation into hunting and fishing that way. Make it fun for them. We have the live raptor demonstrations. We've got a bunch of different people that come in, and I know Wild New Hampshire Day at Fish and Game is really similar to that. They try to get people into it that way.
But you'd be amazed how many complaints I'll get from some miserable SOBs about you need to stop the Youth Turkey Day because this kid shot my turkey that I've been you know what I mean? It's
I'm on that turkey.
Yeah,
That young
seriously,
That's
it's unbelievable,
Wow.
and it's probably an over 68 that's getting a free license on
That's
top
awful.
of it, But
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, look, if we got nothing if we don't, get
Well, if we don't pass it on, we're
don't
done.
pass it on.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, there's a certain bunch out there that are resentful that these under 16 kids are getting a shot at early at things.
Yeah.
It drives me
That's
crazy.
awful.
Yeah.
We had I'll never forget
It's amazing
this.
how
Oops, sorry.
selfish can be,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We had a girl come in and take one of our hunter education classes. She was just old enough to get her license herself, and she actually drew a moose tag that year, which
no
is,
way.
I mean, almost unheard of the first time you put in for the moose lottery to pull a moose tag, but she did. And she sent us pictures. She shot a bull moose her first trip out, and she sent us pictures of it. She was so excited because she had just gotten out of our hunter ed class. She had painted her nails hunter orange to go out for the day, and she was just so jazzed. The picture of her and this bull moose is absolutely awesome, and I was almost in tears. I was so excited for her.
Tell her to quit now. It's never going to get any better.
So
That's
RP
the
Pete's
best
at
there
so
is.
young.
It doesn't
Yeah.
get any better than that. No, it was fantastic. So it's
how old
awesome to hear
is
stories like that.
How old? You said she's just old enough to do the 100.
16.
Yeah, 16 years old.
Wow. Now at 16, can you go out hunting by yourself?
Yeah.
Well, it's 16 to get your own hunting license
Right.
to hunt by yourself. To graduate from the hunter ed program, you just have to be, I think it's 12 or over by the time the course ends. But you have to hunt with a licensed adult until you're 16.
Okay, so 16, you can actually be out in the woods with a gun by yourself.
Yes,
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that.
you can. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it unless you've been out there and done it once or twice before, because I'll tell you, the first time you've got to gut a deer by yourself, you're going to wish you had somebody more experienced out there.
I can remember, 6 in the morning, pedaling, didn't have a driver's license yet, going through Goffstown with my shotgun tied to the handlebars of my bike, No one noticed it then. There's some 16-year-old kid, even though it'd be perfectly legal today, they'd probably haul him off to the
Oh, yeah.
That's
scout,
true.
No
That's
doubt.
very true.
SWAT
Yeah.
team would be called and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
That's very
Exactly.
true.
Well, I remember we had where I lived. Now we used to walk down to the how like towns always put dumps right on the town line.
Yeah.
So the Harvard, Massachusetts dump was right next to the Stowe, Massachusetts town line near there, and so we used to walk down there and shoot rats. But can you imagine if you saw a bunch of like a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and an 8-year-old? I had the BB gun, I think, and my other brother had a pellet gun. My oldest brother had the .22. All walking down the street with guns now.
You'd have to bring in the tank.
You'd have to bring in the tank.
You did
would
that in
absolutely
Massachusetts?
need. Yeah. In Massachusetts, pardon, this is like 30 minutes outside of Boston. I was on the shooting team in school. We would bring our guns to school and go out back after school and go shooting.
Yeah, we had hunter ed. I had hunter ed in school.
Really?
Yeah. Back then you had to be 14, but it was held at the high school, and of course during hunting season, we'd have all our vehicles out in the parking lot, ready to go, so that we could take off after school.
So there's all kinds of guns in the back of everybody's car.
Yeah,
and
hanging. Yeah, definitely not the program today.
No.
Well, I guess it depends whose car you're talking about.
You don't put. Is it now? People don't put it in their back window anymore.
Well, I mean, very few do, but I wouldn't
There's nothing.
either.
There's
but
no law against it.
no, but I think it's more about showing you got. I mean, now it's like advertising to get someone to steal it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, because back in the day, people didn't just go.
Oh, everyone had a rack in the back of the pickup or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I remember when I first moved up here, I still had a Subaru, But I moved up to New Hampshire, so I tried to get a gun rack for the back of my Subaru, but I couldn't find one. They didn't make one. Just try to fit in, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
That's the kind of guy I am.
Yeah, you don't want to be an outcast.
No, not me.
No.
So what else is going on? What else you got? Youth Day. We got to talk about Youth Day. We had, when's Youth Day for hunting?
For which season? We have a deer, we have a turkey, and we have a waterfowl.
Oh yeah, I saw the waterfowl today. I thought that's pretty cool.
Waterfowl hearings are tonight, actually. No, it's been around a while.
Youth Day for waterfowl's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Now when is that?
I don't know the dates, frankly.
You can find it on Fish and Game website.
Oh yeah. No.
So you have to go out with a Youth Day means you have to go out with an adult.
Right, because the kid's got to be under 16, so he can't hunt himself.
Right.
Yeah.
So he has to go out with an adult, but he can still get a regular bag limit for that. Is it just one day or is it the weekend?
Usually it's the weekend.
Okay.
And they the weekend before, typically, and they can't, and the adult can't have a fire, can't have a weapon.
Right.
And I know my son was 14 when he got his first deer on youth weekend, so I was pretty pumped.
We have a question via text. Our friend Moose46 is asking, "Hi Matt, I have a question for Fish and Game. I've been fishing in the Merrimack River here in town for years. Do they patrol it for people who don't have a fishing license?"
Well, we patrol everything for people that don't have a fishing license, but right now, frankly, we are stretched to the limit in terms of where, of how, trying to be everywhere at once.
So you can basically text him back and said, "It's okay, you're safe."
I'll tell you, the one thing, I have run into conservation officers in the woods before out hunting, and it's always when you think they're not going to show up,
yeah.
that's when they do.
They're a pretty sneaky
So,
bunch.
oh yeah, they're surprisingly good at what they do for having so much territory to cover. So it's when you think you're not going to get caught, that's when you're going to get caught.
Oh, so they're just like regular cops then. When you don't want them around, there they are.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this, as I can't. Sometimes I wonder if anyone's left in the state with a hunting or fishing license with the number of license revocations
Really?
we process. I mean,
Really?
stacks.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? What
Most violations, include a loss of license. With fishing, depending on what it is, it can be 3 months to a year, and most hunting violations, it's a year.
But what are they typically getting caught for? Just trying to grab too many fish and
Oh, well,
shooting a buck,
over limit of fish,
doe or a buck
fishing in the
only.
closed season. Yeah. Of course, we got the robo deer. That's always a good one, shooting from the road.
Does that happen a lot?
Oh, God.
Really? No kidding. Huh.
And, shooting from the road. We got the robo pheasant and the robo grouse.
Oh, you do?
So, grouse hunting from the road, I mean, we've got video of guys, like, shoving the barrel out the window past the wife's face.
Oh, my God.
To shoot at the,
Wow.
to shoot, because they film it all, right? So it's not as though there's going to be much typically in the questions.
But on some level, even though that's illegal, you have to admire that level of dedication and commitment to what they're doing. I mean, they really want to kill that thing.
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't know that I admire their dedication and commitment to
Just
that.
on some level deep down. That's a go-getter right there. Someone who will do that.
all they got to do is get out of the vehicle and get themselves,
15
15 feet off the side of the road. But
Maybe they're just really efficient.
Yeah.
They just want to get it done.
yeah.
Well,
It's amazing, get the limit of trout, sneak it back home, come back for a second.
yeah.
How do you catch somebody for that? Because that's kind of tough.
They'll
Because
just stake a pond out. And,
Really? Yeah.
and of course, most of these folks are, number one, they can never shut up. So they're always telling somebody about what they did.
Right.
And, they're not typically geniuses about the whole thing. And so, I mean, there's times legitimate mistakes people make, and they report themselves and they get pretty good leniency. But guys who shoot 2 moose and try to get away with not letting us know, and there's a surprising amount of it.
Really?
Now, isn't the fine for taking an extra moose, isn't that pretty ridiculous?
Yeah, because there's not only a fine and a loss of license, but there's a $1,200 or $1,600 restitution to the state.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because taking a
2-year loss of license.
yeah, taking a moose, or if you don't have a permit, or the license is pretty severe.
Yeah, well,
That's why I've never actually, in all seriousness, never quite understood how hunters get shot. I mean, I've got really bad eyes, but I certainly can tell the difference between a deer and a moose. I mean, if you have to identify a deer well enough to tell whether it's a male or female, you certainly should be able to also tell if it's a moose.
well, you'd think. But a lot of those accidents surprisingly involve experienced hunters most of the time.
Really?
Yeah, who are convinced they know what they're looking at, as opposed to someone who is really trying to make sure.
If it's a lawyer who accidentally gets shot, do you call that a Dick Cheney? Pulling a Dick Cheney?
Yeah, well,
Most of the people in the legislature are lawyers, so he's probably going to have to plead the fifth on this one.
Yeah.
So-
All right, understood.
so anyway, those things make for some problematic issues, but I've been involved in reviewing a couple of. Thankfully, we haven't. Well, we had one last year, but last year was a classic. There was a fatality last year where a guy been hunting a long time, and 2 brothers and the father were out, and one of the brothers wasn't hunting, had a camera, and was just there to take the pictures, and this guy, shot him at, I don't know what it was, 40 or 60 yards or something, hit him right in the neck. I
Wow.
think. Just killed him instantly.
Was he shooting at something else and hit him, or?
No, I'll tell you, it's. I won't say it's never happened, but it is quite rare they were actually. They all think they were shooting at an animal, but typically not.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So-
sad. Tragic, really.
Yeah. So. But
What are you doing with the, speaking of people who have been convicted of jack and deer, whatever, in New Hampshire? I thought you were working on a regional compact to try to share information, so they don't just go down to Massachusetts and get a license, or.
well, right, we have reciprocity agreements. We are actually part of the compact, so that in a lot of states now, if you've lost your license in one state, you've lost it everywhere. Like with the DWI on your license or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's in effect.
Is that all of New England, or all
It's across the country, but I'm not sure which states are in and which states are out.
Right. So Georgia's not in, is what you're saying.
I don't know. I know Pennsylvania is in because I've dealt with that issue before.
Yeah.
But even aside from that, though, at least in New England, we have, especially Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, the law enforcement guys really know and respect each other well and work closely together on, because of course, as you can imagine, especially up north, there's a lot of opportunity for nefarious activity across the borders there. So
Sure.
Is there actually? I know that years ago there were a lot of people who were jacking bear just for their.
gallbladders.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
Asian market.
Really? Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Asian market. But that's, I haven't heard a whole lot about that recently. I don't know if they've moved on to rhino horn or what's going on, but
We don't have a lot of those.
no, we don't, thankfully.
I think they're onto the eels now.
What a nightmare that is.
The eels?
Yeah.
Oh,
Elvers.
yeah. I think I remember. Go ahead. What was
Oh
that?
no, I'm not honestly. I'm not quite certain about it, but I did hear that there was this big deal about people catching some kind of eels off the coast this year.
Well, when eels come back from, all eels, all our American eels go out to the Sargasso Sea, basically the middle of the Atlantic, and that's where they spawn. And then after they hatch, they work their way back in their millions into the rivers. And they come back as what they call glass eels or elvers. They're like this long and almost transparent. And last year they were fetching $2,500 to $3,000 a pound. And
That's pretty tempting.
right, because they're dip netting them. I've heard of a couple of guys that got as much as 80 pounds in a night.
Wow.
And the only state it's legal to do this in is Maine.
Yeah.
But there's poaching going on everywhere, and eels are potentially on the verge of being listed. So,
As listed as endangered?
yeah, threatened.
Is this another Asian delicacy
Yeah, well,
thing?
what's happened is that they pretty much wiped them out in Europe. Europe is shut down eel fishing everywhere, so they moved over to the States. And so what they do is these things are trucked in alive to New York and air freighted out of New York to Asia, Japan, China, wherever, and then they're grown up to 1 pound plus size and then sold. So as you can imagine, when you've got whatever it is, 200, 300 of these things to the pound, it's the only way you can air freight them of any consequence, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you'd be talking 300 pounds of eels at adult size.
Right.
And
Wow.
so it's created this, huge black market thing going on. And of course, since it's legal in Maine, although it's limited, there's limited licenses. But the fact that there's a legal operation makes it really difficult to stop, because you can't tell what's legal and what's not once it's in the pipeline.
Right. Yeah.
It's like lobster meat. Once it's chopped up lobster meat, you can't tell if it came from a short or not.
Right. Yeah. And if you're about to eat it, you don't care.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Pretty much tastes the same.
Yeah. I would assume. I don't
Yeah.
eat a lot. I would assume.
Well, I don't know. Stolen apples taste better. I've always noticed that.
Oh, dude! Anytime you can get like the lasagna, when you get
Yeah.
the lasagna, when
Yeah,
you're giving,
exactly.
that
You
kind
get
of
Something.
stolen lasagna? I'm confused.
Well, I wouldn't phrase it that way, and neither would Gary for legal reasons.
Yes, I have to plead the fifth on a lasagna.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we
She doesn't watch the show, does she?
apparently not. Never watched the show.
No.
Smarter, she's a lot smarter than that.
Even when I'm on it, I just look at your clock and pray it'll be
Yeah.
I'm too busy volunteering for my many agencies, Gary.
Yes. You're too in too high a demand.
That must be it.
Take time to actually ferret out what you're
I'll
getting
try and
into.
keep up with
right. Yeah, she was unable to take the time to
out
determine
she should've done
what was really going on here.
Yeah, we kind of count on that. But so anyway, so youth year is you don't know when the date is.
I don't know the date, so typically it's the and on deer hunting there's a I believe is there a youth muzzleloader or youth archery? I forget, but it's usually the weekend before the regular season opens up.
Yeah, but the
for
weekend
everybody.
before the regular season open up is still muzzleloader. So it coincides with that?
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I mean, I never come up with it because I just know I'll be wrong if I say the date. So
Well, with that attitude, you will be, mister.
yeah, I mean that's why we print books, so that everyone can have one and know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the other change that was happening that I wanted to talk about was the hunting licenses.
Yep.
are, I don't know if it's this year or is it next year, they're only going to be printed
That's correct.
online.
Well, it's not on. You can still buy one at an agent, but the agent will be plugged into an online system
Okay.
that they'll have an access code to get in. It's not the same system that you were on if you do an online, print an online license at your house, for example.
Right.
But it's similar to that.
Now, some people are bothered by the fact that it's not going to be that pretty durable.
Yeah, the like fiber. paper,
Tyvek.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tyvek, really? Because that stuff is pretty durable. So,
Mm-hmm.
how are the officers going to deal with it if somebody's got a paper thing that they've printed out? If you get and I got an inkjet printer. If it gets damp, it's going to start running.
Well, 40% of our licenses are being printed online now. So
Really?
Yeah. So what is the deal if they get it? They pull it out of their pocket, and it's a rainy day, and it's all smudged and.
well. Of course, fishing licenses is no big deal. So, I mean, the smart guys that get them now, fishing license, they take it and they got, a copy in the truck, a copy in the tackle box, a copy in the boat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's a little tougher with hunting licenses only because of the tags.
Right.
Officers kind of hate it when you got like 50 deer tags. But still, you'll be able to copy them, you'll be able to get replacements. It's the fact of the matter is that we got to move into the new century here, or actually get in with the old one first.
Right.
We're practically the last. We are the last state I know of, and there's probably
That's still
some, but
doing
we're
the
the
old
last
written-
weight that I know of that still does handwritten. These multi-form
So they're
licenses.
collector's items, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna hang on to mine.
2013
Sell
is
it
the
on
last time they'll be
On
printed.
eBay.
And when we get this
2000
system,
what?
this year we're in, 2013 is the last time you'll have those. Starting when we start selling the 2014 licenses in mid-December, everything will be done, the online, or the agents and online will all be electronic systems. And by next summer, all the off-road registrations will be too.
Okay.
So that we can, and unlike some of the license guys, the registration guys, the auto dealers and everybody have been pushing me for a couple of years to get that together because they can't stand doing the paper stuff. Because for an agent, first good snow of the year, and they got 60 snowmobilers lined up outside to register coming up from Mass. Well, with the system, whether hunting, fishing, OHRV, doesn't matter. If you're already in the system, as soon as they start to enter you, everything comes up, so you don't have to sit there and handwrite it all over again every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so it's basically, change the date, pay the fee, out the door, get your stickers, and that's the benefit. The benefit to the license agents for the hunting and fishing license, the same thing. They don't have to sit there, and then we have to actually read that crap back at the office and data enter it.
Yeah.
Whereas now with this, if you're in the system, as soon as they hit it, you're in there. Bing,
Yeah.
done. And
Yeah, but don't you feel bad that people won't be practicing their penmanship like they used to have to?
penmanship.
I'd block print everything.
So it's, what it's also going to do actually is there's an accounting piece of that for the agents, they won't have to spend 3 hours at the end of every month, adding it all up and whatnot, because it's all going to be part of the record as it goes in, and so they'll basically press a button at the end of the month and it'll all be there, and they just have to send us the money they collected or whatever. It'll be, tell them what it is.
And then the NSA knows who isn't going hunting and stuff like that, which is really important.
My buddies,
Your buddies.
they keep me informed.
They do, yes. So what else is happening with you, young lady? Anything else going on at the gun club? What do we got going on in the next couple of months? Anything?
In the next couple of months, oh gosh, there's a lot of stuff going on in the next couple of months. Actually, this coming Saturday, we have an introduction to firearms course for women. It's not the NRA's Women on Target course, but it's similar.
Yeah.
That's going to be this coming Saturday again. If anybody wants to attend, it's goffstownfishandgame.org for the information, and it's all on our news page on there. There's also, we have a Friends of the NRA, Manchester Friends of the NRA banquet
I
coming
just
up
got
in
I got the
September.
invitation for that. Those are really fun.
Yeah, I want to say it's September 21st, but you can find the information on Facebook on the Manchester Friends of the NRA page. That's also, we have a lot of involvement with Goffstown Fish and Game with the Manchester Friends of the NRA, so it's
They
kind
had
of a big event for us.
last year they had a plaque. I think maybe you remember it. Was it says my greatest fear in life is when I die, my wife will sell my guns for what I told her they cost.
Yes. I do remember that. We had a lot of great stuff at the banquet last year, and we're probably going to have a lot of great stuff at this one again. I know there's a lot of guns. We're going to be giving away a lot of firearms, so come on down for that raffle. But we've also got, there's a couple of suppers going on at the club. We've got a spaghetti supper, and I want to say a ham and bean supper coming up at the gun club, all on goffstownfishandgame.org. We've got Hunter Ed, traditional Hunter Ed, and a bow Hunter Ed class
Is there
coming
still
up.
room for the Hunter Ed course?
Hunter Ed, I think, is totally full, and Bow Hunter Ed, I don't know if that class is full yet, but I know it was filling up quickly. I know we're operating on a wait list right now for the traditional Hunter Ed course.
Where's
though.
your where is the clubhouse and all?
It's in Ware, New Hampshire, Melvin Valley Road in Ware. That's where we do all of our courses. So there's so many things coming up for that, but fall's a busy time of the year for us. Oh, we have our turkey shoot too, which isn't what it sounds like. We don't actually shoot turkeys, but we give you turkeys for shooting. So you'll get a frozen turkey or a frozen chicken or something like that will be your winnings
then
for
you take it home and
So you don't
scoring
shoot
a
the
certain
frozen
number of
chicken.
points that day. No, you do not shoot the frozen chicken,
So
but
you shoot
but you are shooting at a target.
You shoot target, and if you do well, you get a
Yep,
frozen
you're shooting
chicken.
a target for points. So depending upon how many points you rack up, then you may walk home with dinner. But that's coming up too, and all of the information's on our website, goffstownfishandgame.org.
goffstownfishandgame.org. Glenn, thank you very much again for putting up with us. This is like 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row. I don't know why you do it, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, you space it far enough so I forget.
How bad? Yeah.
Between each
it's
time,
like why
that's-
women
Yes,
keep
yes.
having children, kind of like that, right?
I wouldn't know.
Me neither.
Christina, thank you very much. You're delightful.
No problem, it was fun.
We'll see you next week. I don't know who I get. Who do I get next week?
I have no
never
idea.
know. I never know.
Yeah,
who I
you
get
never
next
know.
week.
Somebody always shows up.
Somebody
it's great.
always does show up.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah.
weird?
It is.
Hey, thank you very much, folks. We'll see you next week.
It's one of the mysteries of humankind.